Hey everybody, so we're here. We just got off of the free bus, the free shuttle from the hotel. And they run this like a well-oiled machine. People running in and out with wheelchairs, helping people in. This is awesome. I feel freezing. It is ridiculously cold up here. It just started snowing when we left. I'm feeling like I'm finally in the right place, and I'm going in with a positive attitude and hoping that the doctor got a lot of sleep last night. This building is huge. We're going to go and try and find out where to check in. Appointment is at 1:30 Eastern, so we'll check in later. Wish me luck. Hey everybody, it's Barbara. So I've had a little bit of time since my Mayo Clinic appointment, and this is part 2. Just quick recap of the first video in case you missed it, and so you don't have to watch it. My mom and I went up there, and we had the thought that we would be seeing multiple doctors, that they would have reviewed my chart before we got up there, that there would be no stone left unturned by the time that I left, that even if they did not have the answers at that time, that we would come home knowing that they were in my corner and they were going to continue to do anything and everything to help figure out what continued to be wrong, what the issues were. Because when I left here, based on the referral that was done for me to go there, I did not request to go to the Mayo Clinic. My neurologist had done a consultation with the Mayo Clinic, and it was my perception that that the Mayo Clinic is who wanted to see me, that they could no longer make any suggestions or anything without actually meeting with me. I don't know what the disconnect was with that. So that's kind of the gist of the first appointment, or video 1. So I did get a lot of labs done, and a spinal tap done. The frustrating part about that was I had kind of, at the very end of my very first appointment, I had to kind of like, well, are we going to do labs? Or, what are we going to do? Because I was, it was almost as if after that first appointment, I was just going to be sent home because they couldn't do an MRI, which I get it. Like, I have a demyelinating central nervous system disorder. Like, that's pretty much, kind of the category that they've put me in. So an MRI of my spinal cord, my brain is imperative. I get that. But the Mayo Clinic knew for at least 3 weeks. They had all the information on my device. They had the contact information for my doctors back here at home. And I had contacted my doctor, my neurologist and my urologist, like, hey, is this going to be okay? My doctors here felt like it would be okay. I get there and they're like, no, it's not okay. Whose responsibility is that? I know that it's not mine. I know that for sure, because at some point in that trio, and if it's not a trio between the 3 doctors, then at least the 2 hospitals, somebody should have said, wait a minute, we need to make this trip as optimal as possible because she gets 1 shot. I don't have the money to keep running back and forth to the Mayo Clinic that's 11 hours away from me. The travel expenses alone are pretty expensive. So, you know, I know they know that. So I know it's not my responsibility to know what needs to be done and in what order, but I don't know whose responsibility it is in the trio or in the duo. And it's not really fair for me to put blame on anybody because this happens all the time. It happens with every doctor's office. It happens with every hospital. It happens all the time. And is it the doctor's fault? I don't know. The hospital's fault? Intake? I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, this is such a problem in healthcare. You know, little just coordination things like this. That's why people's wrong organs get removed. Mine was not that serious. But it is such a problem that things get missed. And unfortunately, well, first of all, I don't know that something actually got missed. I'm assuming that something got missed. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that something got missed. And unfortunately, it just happened to be my referral because I get there and they're like, well, why are you here? We can't do anything. So anyway, there was, you know, one thing in my lab, my lab work that had, you know, pointed to inflammation somewhere in the body. Probably a good indication to assume that it's within the central nervous system, although they never told me that. Yeah, they never told me that. They never talked to me about these bands that are in my spinal fluid. Although in all fairness, we were already waiting out the blizzard, just waiting to get out of there because I couldn't wait to do it. So basically that spinal fluid, I have 6 oligonclonal bands. I don't know if I pronounced that right. But if you have 4 or more, it is a very high marker for multiple sclerosis. It is not a diagnostic tool because for that diagnosis, I don't know what the issue is. Like there's very strict whatever around that. So they use it as a marker. But not a diagnostic tool. But I had 6 bands in 2015, 6 in 2016, and then I had 6 again this year. I don't know what that means. So, you know, there was just problems all over the place. That's really all there is to say to it. You know, I could not have felt more invisible if I would have been on the streets of New York City on New Year's Eve. That is how insignificant I felt on that trip. And the thing that sucks about it is that I had to call my father at home who couldn't make the trip, and tell him how awful it was. So he's in Kentucky trying to figure out what went wrong, and I'm trying to explain it to him, and I can't. Because I was prepared for that appointment. I just wasn't prepared for them to just review my chart. I've already gone over my chart with St. Elizabeth, with University of Cincinnati Hospital, with the Cleveland Clinic. I wanted to talk about the here and now, and what led to me being like, you know what, we need to reevaluate this. You know, some things have come back up again, and new things are starting to happen. You know, like, I wanted to talk about that, and I never got to it. So my mom went into the appointment with me on Friday. I mean, there was just really no way that I really didn't want her to, but she had a few things to say. And, you know, had we not, I don't want to say confronted, but basically confronted them, like, wait a minute, we came all the way up here for you to just review the history and to suggest a review of medications, refuse to deal with the bladder stimulator, which my doctor did say that it is something that they could deal with if they contacted Medtronic, which I relayed to them, and they absolutely refused to do it. If I was somebody else, and just please think about this for a minute. I'm on Medicare. If I was somebody else, if I was Lady Gaga, and I'm using her as an example because I watched her documentary, 5'2", and she struggles with chronic pain. And there was a scene where she was having, you know, one of her flare-ups, and she's laying there and she's just crying in pain. And I'm like, I feel you, girl. I know what you're going through. And she's got a massage, you know, a massage therapist on staff, and she's got all these resources of people that come to her aid. And I don't fault her for that. That's great. But one of the things that she says in the documentary, which I was just like, oh, bless her heart, because nobody else ever points it out, and I loved that she did. But what she says is, what does everybody else do? What does everybody else do that doesn't have the money? That doesn't have the resources? What do? And I'll answer that for you. We get tossed around the system. We don't get everything at our disposal. We have to get really creative. And we have a lot of long nights. That's what we do. And it sucks. If I was Lady Gaga, if I was rich, there is no way that I would have left the Mayo Clinic less than 48 hours. Well, we had to stay because of the blizzard, but I would not have left in 48 hours. And here's the thing. I had a foundation that had me paid through the 23rd of the following week. So they're going to have me completely done by the 17th, even though I'm paid through the 23rd. And I told them that. I said, I can stay longer. A foundation paid for me to be here. I mean, they paid for my housing. I had to pay to get there and for food and everything else. But the most expensive part of the trip, I had a foundation that paid for me. Because that's how bad that my doctor's office wanted me to go up there, which just leads to more confusion. And the Mayo Clinic still didn't keep me to be like, well, if you're here anyway, let's look into this a little further. They had no interest. They didn't want to consider that this was a different autoimmune disorder, or to go ahead and take advantage of doing the bladder stimulator. Is it because I'm on Medicare? I have no idea. I have my suspicions. Can I prove it? No. Would they admit it? No. But I have my suspicions. They have a lot of resources there that I never had access to, that I don't know if they exist or not. I know a lot of people have great experiences there, and I'm just left wondering why every little thing of mine was so bad. But that's neither here nor there. At this point, I'm done with it. I'm gonna move forward, and I just hope, you know, and if anything happens to me, you come back to this video. Because if I've told everybody that I could tell, that stuff ain't right, and I'm just being thrown around the system, there's nothing else that I can do. So if anything happens, all I can say is that I tried everything I could think of, and this system is what failed me. You can only advocate for yourself so much, and I never want anybody to stop advocating for themselves, because that's what this whole playlist is about, is what you can do for yourself and advocacy and looking for resources. And I'm going to help people do that, because usually situations like this aren't this bad, but I was able to access resources and stuff throughout these 5 years, and I want other people to be able to do that. So, you know, I'm gonna move on from this. I'm not gonna dwell on it. It is what it is. I'm basically just back at square one. But you know what? If I end up back in that place, I better recover. So that's it. The next video that I am going to do is probably going to be on the healthcare system. Imagine that. And the difficulties with communication between doctors and hospitals. And, oh, you better not hurt that fishing pole. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I hope that the hooks don't hurt you. Fishing pole's all right. Anyway, it's going to be on the healthcare system and the communication and what you can do as a patient to try to help yourself, because there are things that you can do to try to make have the best outcome. So that's all for now. I didn't mean to cry. I almost made it through the whole video. Dag nabbit. I'm not gonna cry on the next one. I'm not gonna do it. Mwah. All right. Talk to you guys later.